Good morning. I have no statement to make, so happy to answer questions regarding tonight's game. Or anything else.
I guess are you disappointed it's come to this?
Yeah, well, it's obviously not the position we had envisioned. Going back to the start of the year, going back to last year, to the draft and whatnot, but for various reasons, here we are, and we'll deal with it.
What will you deal with? Does this change anything in terms of how you view him,
or? No, it really doesn't change anything. Again, I've told both Jonathan and his agent that we will trade him if and when we can make a deal that is good for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In that sense, nothing has changed.
Has this damaged that at all? Have you ever heard from anybody that said maybe either think it twice about it?
I don't know that I can answer that yet. We'll see.
In the agent's statement, he said he was advised by you guys that there was a deal that was coming close. Is that true? Or?
We've never said that there's a pending deal or there's a deal close. We've never said that.
Were you surprised at what happened last night, or did you have a heads up on it?
Yeah, and we've been in communication with Alan Walsh on a regular basis, so no, we weren't surprised.
Do you have any scheduled meetings with Jonathan or Alan in the next day? Or?
No, we don't.
Any indication that his position about not continuing in any capacity might change to where he could end up returning playing for Syracuse, or is there any possibility that that's?
I guess anything is possible, but we really haven't discussed where we're going from here. Jonathan, as you know, has been suspended, and we haven't had any discussion about where this goes next.
Could this follow this kid around? I mean, I don't want to play. I don't want to risk getting hurt. I mean, is that something that can follow someone around their entire career, Steve? I mean,
well, potentially. Again, we all have choices and decisions to make. Whether I agree with what they're doing or not, Jonathan is a 20-year-old professional hockey player. He's got to make his own decisions, and I'm not going to sit here and judge him on his decisions. I don't agree with the position, but that's for him to make. And where this goes and how it all plays out eventually, I don't know. If he becomes a very good hockey player, all will be forgotten, I would assume.
Do you have to consider the precedent that this might set if you give in to his trade demands about what other players in the future with the organization might handle situations when they're not happy?
Yes. Again, my responsibility is to act in the best interests of the hockey club, and I intend to do that. And again, I can't predict how this is going to play out or how it's going to end, but I will act solely in my own judgment as to what is best for the team. And we have to run our hockey club, and we will run our hockey club.
Steve, in terms of a possible trade, how much would this hurt the Lightning in terms of getting a player of equal or better value, I guess?
Well, I'm not sure that I will be able to say get a player of better value. I mean, again, it depends on how you measure it, if eventually there's a trade comes about, what that actual deal is, how do you measure the value? It can be in a lot of different ways. So again, instead of using that term equal value, maybe the better phrase is getting a deal that makes sense or is good for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Does it hurt it? I guess time will tell. I can't definitively answer that yet. But to this date, I can tell you, and we are actively and aggressively trying to find a deal that works. We haven't been able to do that. And going forward, we'll see. I don't think this helps the situation by any means. It doesn't put added pressure on me to do it, to make a trade. I'm doing everything I possibly can now. So it doesn't help it. How much it hurts it, I don't know.
Steve, are you worried that this could cause a distraction with this team playing so well?
No, not really. The situation isn't in our locker room. Jonathan isn't here with the team right now. These guys are going out and playing, and they have no control over it. It has no bearing on them right now. I'm sure they will be asked about it again after you leave here and talk to them. But again, they have no control over the situation. They're not involved in it and focused on today playing the Chicago Blackhawks tonight and moving on to the next game.
Alan and Jonathan seem to indicate that he hasn't been given a fair opportunity here, or hasn't been given a fair shake. I mean, do you think he's been given every opportunity to succeed with the Lightning?
I think if you ask every single player in that locker room, at some point they've been frustrated by their situation and they've persevered through it. So yes, every player in the league for that matter, there's very few, is there a handful of players in the league at some point that haven't gone through something and had to persevere and be frustrated and want more ice time or want this or want that, and they stick with it and they play. So I feel that as an organization in the 5.5 years that I've been here, Coop's in his third year now with the team as a coach. They're in, third full season, came in late in the lockout year. From Andrei Vasilevsky in goal to Nikita Nesterov to Andrei Suster on defense to Andrei Palat, Tyler Johnson, Cedric Paquette, Vladdy Nemesnikov. A lot of young players have come up, have spent time in the minors, have been healthy scratches, have been whatever. They've come, I believe, through Norfolk, through Syracuse, through Tampa. I think we're doing a reasonable job of developing these young players into good players. There's a group of them on our team now. Not all of them played for John Cooper in Norfolk or Syracuse either. So, there is not an exact progression for every single player. It's different. I know Jonathan wanted to play more. I know he stated he's not happy with how he was used. I understand that, but John Cooper is doing a good job. I like to think we're doing a pretty good job at bringing these young kids along. So we're going to stick with that plan.
When you draft a kid third overall, I mean, a lot of people have an earmark. He could be one of those guys, could be a star, could play with Stamkos, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And now he wants out. Does that mean his third pick was a failure? I mean, a swing and a miss?
I'd say it's too early to say that. Let's see how this plays out. Where it goes from here, again, I'm not sure. What if there is a trade, what we get in return for that trade? We'll see. Time will tell. That's why we picked him third overall.
I mean, and now there's a chance he might not be here. And
Yep.
I mean, is that a bad read on the kid, or I mean, I don't.
The draft isn't, as we all know, is an imperfect process, science, whatever you want to call it. We are here today. It hasn't worked as any of us, including Jonathan or Alan Walsh, had hoped. Okay, because we picked Jonathan third overall. He's excited to be picked by Tampa. To date, it hasn't worked, and we can all have our opinions on why it hasn't worked. We can all point fingers at one another, and it doesn't matter at this time. We have our opinions and feelings on the situation, which I think it's best we keep to ourselves and learn from the situation, what we can do differently, what we possibly can do better, and go on. So we're here today, and we'll deal with it.
Just you mentioned all the players. I mean, did you ever have a point in your career where you were frustrated to the point where, what am I doing here? I mean, did you? Or your Hall of Famer?
Yeah. There's ups and downs throughout a player's career. Sometimes they happen when you're 18, sometimes they happen when you're 20, sometimes they happen when you're 30 or beyond. Throughout the course of your career, you face adversity. Every player does. You're looking around the league this year at some of the elite players around the league this year dealing with adversity. You know what? You get through it. And, everybody has a choice in how they handle it.
Alan even said in his statement that he's done with the Lightning. Are the Lightning done with Jonathan Drouin as a player? Do you see that relationship severed?
I'm not prepared to say that, but I'm certainly, I leave the door open to anything. But our intention at this time is to proceed with trying to make a trade that involving Jonathan that helps the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's where I'm at today. Anything is possible. But again, our intention and our plan is to continue to proceed and try and make a trade that helps us.
So with that being said, you're prepared to let, if a trade doesn't transpire, that you're ready for him to sit out the entire season?
I won't put a timeline on anything or be held at that, But again, all I'll say is I'm going to continue to act on what I believe is the right thing to do for this organization. So if that's a day, a week, a month, over the course of the summer, I don't have a timeline on it. And to some extent, it's out of my control. In order to make a trade, you have to have a partner to make a trade with. And I can't force another team to make a deal with me, a deal that I like.
I think you said you're aggressively and actively trying to make a trade happen. Could you say in general just how much interest around the league you guys have felt or received?
Oh, I think there's interest. I think there's significant interest.
He thought he was gonna be down, his agent said, a certain amount of time, then he would be back. Did you give him any mandate when he went down, or did you make, I can't imagine you made any promises, but what did you tell him?
I specifically said, I want you to go down and play some games. You haven't played much. We've got everybody coming back from injury. I want you to do well when you get back. I want you to be in good shape. You need to go down and play games, show everyone you're healthy, and then just get yourself in game shape. Again, at the time he had played, I believe, 9 games in 9 weeks or 8 games in 8 weeks. Jonathan understood that. I said, I'm not putting a timeline on this, but you're going to go down, you're going to play games just like we did with Andrei Vasilevsky, and then you're going to come back. So that's the reason it was done. And to be perfectly honest with you all, and I said this to Alan Walsh yesterday, when they went public with their trade demand, that changed everything.
Changed
How
it in
so?
terms of,
When he's coming back. And again, it could not help but force me to change, the way we did things.
Alan said in the statement that he was willing to let Jonathan practice in Syracuse but not play games, and can you tell us why that was not, is that true, and was that not why that's not acceptable to you?
Well, again, number one, you sign a contract to play games, okay? If a trade is imminent or we feel we're getting close to a trade, I think it is very reasonable for us to say, okay, we're close on something. We will pull the player out of the lineup. That happens pretty regularly, but we're not at that point yet. So we didn't feel it was right to not play. Like every other player that wants to be traded is say, I'm not going to play. I'll just practice and let me know. Let me know when it happens. And so that's not acceptable to us. You go and you play. And teams are scouting. Teams are watching every game. There's scouts at every single game assessing players. So for a player who wants to be traded, the best thing you can do is go out and play well if you want to help your cause.
You said you had a heads up that this was gonna happen. Did you call from the agent saying, look, he's not playing? Or how did you find out?
Yes. No, Alan's been good, and communication with us has been real good. And he's, whether we agree back and forth, both parties understand where we're at. So, we weren't caught off guard by it.
Steve, from all the reports that
Last
I've been,
question.
seen, I guess, it seemed that Jonathan was settling in well at Syracuse, was doing well there at this point, and then last night happened. From your point of view, from what you know, being in the business and being in the line of hockey for so long, is this really a result of what Drouin is asking for, or what his agent is asking for, from your point of view?
I think, if you get the opportunity, you should ask both Alan Walsh and Jonathan Drouin that question and let them answer it. I guess my understanding through Alan Walsh is he is representing Jonathan Drouin, and his response to me was that I represent Jonathan Drouin, and this is what Jonathan wants to do. That's what I've been told.